Hi everyone, and welcome to Paragraph Mapping. Here's what you can expect out of this explanation series. I'll ask that you read a passage. Then I'll offer an explanation of that passage. Lastly, I will show you how to map the paragraph as you read it. Here's today's passage. Before we explain it, I'd like you to pause the video and give it a read to see how much you are able to understand by yourself. So go ahead and pause the video. Welcome back. So, in this passage, we're introduced to three theories as to the sudden disappearance of the Olmec civilization 2,500 years ago. All three theories revolve around the idea that the Olmec civilization could not sustain itself due to a changing environment which led to food scarcity, and speculate on the factors that made planting subsistence crops, or crops grown mainly for consumption, difficult. The first theory starts off by saying that meteorological conditions changed and that certain subsistence crops could no longer be cultivated. In other words, weather conditions changed, making the planting of certain key crops impossible. The second theory states that it was due to the diversion of a river path as a result of climate change, which could have caused severe flooding and droughts, leaving farmland used to plant crops without an adequate source of water. And the third theory states that it was because Olmec leadership was perceived as weak because it could not control the changes seen in the environment, and so they lacked the governance necessary to alter when and where crops were planted. This, according to the theory, led to the fragmentation of the Olmec civilization into feuding clans that fought each other until they disappeared. Now that we have a general idea of what this passage was talking about, let's take a look at how to actually figure that out while reading. So if I were to map the following passage, this is how it would look like. I'd anticipate at least two theories as to the Olmec civilization's disappearance just by reading the first two words, most scholarship. This is because it is logical that since the passage starts off by saying most scholarship, it will undoubtedly present what other scholarship has to say. Once I get to the structure word though, I say to myself, okay, the author is just about to introduce another theory or point of view. And as I continue reading, I realize that changing geography is the basis of that second theory. More specifically, changing geography that led to rivers diverting, which led to flooding and droughts that meant no crops could be planted. I then move on to find another structure word, however, which means the author is about to explain yet another point of view. That point of view is that Olmecs could have moved the crops and transferred the settlements to another place if need be, so that couldn't have been the reason why the Olmecs disappeared. I'd notice key words like more likely responsible, internal dissent, leadership perceived as weak, and that they could not have moved the crops even if they wanted to. As you might have noticed, paying attention to how the structure of the passage unfolds will help you in anticipating the general flow of ideas presented.